Heartwarming request, poor girl asks paralyzed millionaire for leftovers, unveiling an incredible friendship. Emily could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders as she stepped out of her dilapidated apartment, her heart pounding with anxiety. The sky was overcast and the streets filled with the scent of rain and exhaust fumes. She had to fight for every meal, every scrap of hope for her younger siblings. They needed her. Despite the gnawing hunger in her belly, she smiled, determination drawing the corners of her mouth upward. Today, she would go to the mansion atop the hill, that mansion shrouded in mystery, where wealth lingered like dust in the air. When she reached the mansion's towering gates, she hesitated, her stomach twisting in knots. She could turn back and continue cleaning classrooms and waitressing at the diner, but desperation pushed her forward. Fighting the urge to retreat, she brushed off her threadbare clothes and approached the imposing door. She knocked, hard. Moments later, a wary figure appeared. Michael, the paralyzed war veteran and owner of this gilded monstrosity. "Please," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was hoping you might have some leftover food. Just scraps." "My siblings," she trailed off, her heart in her throat. He shot her a glance full of disdain, waving her off like she was a fly buzzing in his ear. Disheartened, Emily turned to leave. But deep down, she knew she couldn't give up. So, day after day, she returned. With each visit, she shared snippets of her life, laughter-filled evenings with her siblings, her mother's fierce determination, and their dreams of a better future. Slowly, tiny cracks formed in the walls around Michael's heart. Weeks went by, and their connection deepened. He started to listen, really listen. Her stories animated his world of silence. Emily's vibrant spirit began to peel away the layers of grief and regret he'd built since returning home from war. The mansion transformed from a place of loneliness to a sanctuary where hope flickered like a candlelight between them. Their conversations became a tapestry of shared dreams and harsh realities, two lives, starkly different, intertwined by circumstance, but whispers spread across the neighborhood. The locals couldn't fathom the friendship between the girl from the struggling block and the well-off recluse. They debated whether it was an act of charity or a deepening bond. Would Michael finally see that wealth shouldn't shield one from the struggles of the world? Just as tensions rose in their community, a protest led by Emily's fiercely passionate mother against local businesses exploiting families erupted. Everything came to a head. The air crackled with confrontation. Michael found himself battling an internal storm, torn between the comfort of his privilege and the undeniable truths Emily had revealed to him. Could he really stand by and watch his neighbors fight for dignity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the protest day approached, a phone call shattered everything he thought he knew. It was a long-lost friend looking to reclaim their past, revealing secrets that might torn apart the fragile bridge between him and Emily. The stakes were rising, and Michael's perception of wealth and responsibility blurred. Would he step into Emily's world, or would he succumb to the isolation of his privilege? The answer loomed like a dark cloud above them, heavy, uncertain, waiting to break. Emily paced nervously by the entrance of the mansion, her heart racing with the uncertainty of what was to come. The protest was just days away, and whispers in her neighborhood spoke of dire consequences. She felt an unfamiliar tension gnawing at her, one that had nothing to do with hunger or her siblings' needs. It was a feeling that Michael might be torn between standing with her and retreating back into the cocoon of his wealth. As she approached the doorway, Michael opened it before she could knock. His face was a storm of emotions: anxiety, guilt, and something else she couldn't quite identify. "Emily," he said, his voice low and strained. "We need to talk." She stepped inside, the familiar scent of polished wood and distant echoes of grandeur enveloping her. But today, the elegant decor felt heavy, overshadowed by the weight of their situation. "What's wrong?" she asked, the worry lacing her words. I received a call this morning, Michael said, his gaze flickering to the floor. It was from an old friend. They want me to help them with some things. Things that could help the community, but Emily's breath caught in her throat. Hope and fear waged war within her. But what? Is it about the protest? He took a deep breath, his hands clenching the armrests of his wheelchair. Yes. They think I should stay away from it. That jumping into the fray would only cause more drama. And part of me, I haven't been involved in the community for so long. I don't know if I'm ready to face it all again. Michael, she whispered fiercely, stepping closer. You've started to see how the world works outside these walls. You've begun to see all of us struggling to make ends meet. How can you stand aside when there's a chance to help? He looked up at her and for a moment, the walls he had built seemed to falter. It's just that I'm afraid. Afraid of the backlash, of how people will view me. I don't fit in either world anymore. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes. Sometimes doing the right thing means being uncomfortable. You won't fit everywhere, and that's okay. But if you don't stand with us, you'll remain just another ghost in this house. Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. Michael's mind raced, fighting against the tides of his past, his victories, losses, and the way they shaped him. But Emily was right, hiding wound to protect him from the truth. Just then, a commotion erupted outside. Muffled voices, angry and determined, pierced the mansion's silence. Emily's heart quickened. They're starting the protest, she said, glancing back at the door. We've got to go. We can talk more there. Wait, Michael said, gripping her arm gently. If I go with you, it'll change everything. You need to know that. She nodded, feeling the pulse of hope revive within her. Then let it change everything. It's time. As they prepared to leave the mansion together, a sense of purpose filled the air. The bridge they were building was fragile, but it was theirs. They stepped outside, the protest gaining momentum before them. The voices of the community rang out in defiance, fierce, powerful. Emily could almost feel the heartbeat of change echo through the crowd. Would this be the moment when Michael's journey truly began? But just as the first words of solidarity from the crowd reached Michael's ears, his phone vibrated sharply in his pocket. He hesitated, the urgency of that old friend's call cutting through the moment like a blade. Would he ignore it and embrace this new path, or succumb to the shrouded past that still haunted him? The answer pressed against him, heavy and unyielding, and Emily stood by his side, the tide of change swirling around them. Would they honor this moment together, or would he drown once again in the fear of what lay ahead? The decision loomed, ready to shift the very course of their lives. Michael felt the vibrations of his phone ripple through his skin, each buzz a reminder of the life he had tried to leave behind. The chaotic energy of the protest washed over him like a tidal wave, pulling him in different directions. Emily's fierce gaze anchored him, her enthusiasm an unyielding tether to the moment. But the past whispered at him loud and clear. Just answer it, Emily urged softly, sensing his inner turmoil. You need to know what they want. Gripping the edge of the phone, Michael took a deep breath. He stepped slightly away from the buzzing crowd, seeking a moment's clarity. His heart raced as he swiped to answer. Hello? He said, the word caught somewhere between resistance and curiosity. Michael, the voice on the other end was smooth but urgent, rekindling memories of days spent running in circles, insulated from the real world. I'm glad you took my call. We need to talk about what's happening tomorrow. The weight of those words felt like lead in his chest. I am about to join a protest, he replied, hesitance spilling into his tone. The thought of being out there, among those who had watched him retreat, was overwhelming. Listen, I understand your feelings, but you don't want to get caught in the middle of this. It's going to turn ugly. You could be a target, his friend continued, voice insistent. We can work from behind the scenes, make a real difference without putting you in danger. Michael tightened his grip on the phone, confusion swirling. Part of him agreed staying away felt safer. But he couldn't ignore the thundering voices just beyond the door, the promise of change wrapping around him like the sun after a long storm. Emily was right. He couldn't stand aside and watch, not anymore. Suddenly, he noticed a group of protesters marching down the street, their faces fierce and bright with determination. He thought of Emily, her courage, her passion. She had poured her heart and soul into this cause. Could he stand back knowing he had the power to help? Michael? The voice on the line broke through his thoughts. I have to go, he said, his decision solidifying like freshly poured concrete. I'll be part of this, and if my involvement can mean something to someone, then I'll face whatever comes my way. He ended the call and turned back toward Emily, whose expression was a mix of pride and concern. What did they want? She asked, a flicker of hope sparking in her eyes. They wanted me to stay away, he confessed, taking a steadying breath. But I'm not going to. I want to be here with you, with everyone. I want to help. The joy in her face was immediate, lighting up the dimming shadows around them. Then let us do this. Together. As they moved closer to the gathering crowd, Emily linked her arm through Michael's. The cacophony of voices rose, a melody of hope, anger, and determination. The sound washed over them like a wave, threatening to sweep them into the flow of passionate energies, while their hearts raced in unison, sensing the stirring anticipation of the crowd. An unexpected shout cut through the air, arresting their movement. Look at him! Someone yelled. That's Michael. The millionaire. Eyes turned their way, curiosity and judgment radiating from the crowd like heat from a summer sun. Michael felt the weight of their gazes, a storm brewing within him. This was at his moment of truth. Would he stand tall, a beacon of change, or would he collapse under the weight of his past reputation? As whispers began to crackle like dry leaves around them, Michael took a deep breath, determined to find his voice amid the storm. Would he rise to the occasion, or would the very people he wished to support see him only as an outsider, forever haunted by his past? The moment hung in the air, thick and charged. Michael felt the crowd's eyes, some curious, some accusatory, like a weight pressing down on him. The cheers and chants blurred together as adrenaline surged through him. He spotted familiar faces among the crowd, people he had known before he stepped back from the world. He couldn't hide. Not any longer. Hey, look! It's Michael! Another voice shouted. What's he doing here? The whispers grew louder, weaving a tapestry of speculation around him. His heart raced as Emily squeezed his arm, her support radiating through the tension. But the anxiety clawed at his gut. Shame would shatter him if he fell beneath their scrutiny. Just breathe, Emily whispered, her voice soft but firm. She stepped forward slightly, making a small but visible space for Michael. You've got this. What do you want to say? She encouraged, and somehow she made it sound easy. Michael could sense her determination bolstering his own. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, allowing the crowd's energy to pulse through him. I know what I've been. Who I've been, he started, his voice wavering just a bit. Yes, I've had privilege and wealth, but I stand here not just as Michael the millionaire, but as Michael, a person who believes in change. The crowd quieted, surprise widening eyes. Curiosity replaced judgment as his words cut through their doubts, even if just for a moment. I know I can't erase my past, he continued, emboldened by the shifting energy. But I've spent so long hiding from the very issues I should have been fighting against. He could feel the air buzzing, each breath becoming easier. I'm here today because I believe in this movement. I believe in each one of you, your voices, your passions. A low rumble of murmur spread through the crowd, a little hesitant but filled with emerging acceptance. He could see some faces soften, nodding in agreement while others still held a skeptical look. But Michael didn't shy away. Yes, things might get messy, he asserted. But together, we have the power to create a wave of change. If my past can fuel your future, then I will stand with you. I will face whatever comes. The words rang out with an unexpected strength, resonating with both him and the crowd. A soft voice piped up from the edge of the assembly. You really mean that? You're not just saying it to save face? Michael turned to the girl who spoke. Her face was a mix of hope and doubt. She couldn't have been more than 16, her eyes reflecting a courage that seemed bigger than her frame. Yes, he replied earnestly, the sincerity ringing true. And if you'll let me, I want to help. Not because of my past, but because of what we can do together. The girl's brow unfurled as a small, determined smile creased her lips. It was infectious. One by one, nods of agreement began to ripple through the crowd. Here in this juncture, hope flickered like fresh embers in the chaos. A mighty shift, Emily beamed at him, her pride illuminating the moment. That's it, Michael. Just keep speaking from your heart. Then, suddenly, the energy shifted. From the back, a voice blared through a megaphone, "Attention! The march is about to start." The crowd erupted. Feet shuffled, signs waved, and a wave of enthusiasm washed over them anew. But amid the surge, Michael felt a shadow creeping in again. What if the march fell into chaos? What if he couldn't control the narrative? "Are you ready?" Emily asked, pulling him back from his doubts. He glanced down at the girl who had questioned him, now standing alongside the rest of the assembly, an embodiment of courage. I think I am." He nodded, trying to convince himself as much as her. As they began to move forward into the tide of protest, adrenaline pounding in sync with the beats of their collective determination, Michael contemplated the storm ahead. Would he really be able to lead? Would he truly find his place among them? The march started, but with every step they took, the echoes of yesterday loomed larger. The question remained, hovering at the back of his mind, could he transform the shadows of his past into a beacon of hope for the future? The march surged ahead, a wave of bodies and voices, striding forward with purpose. For Michael, it felt surreal, invigorating even. The chants grew louder, resonating in his bones. No justice. No peace. They cried, and it flooded him with memories of a life he thought he had left behind. Emily walked beside him, her presence grounding yet urging him on. They passed familiar landmarks, places he had frequently visited, luxurious shops that felt like distant memories now. As they moved, he could feel the collective energy shifting from skepticism to something more potent, determination. The crowd began to split into clusters, some discussing strategies, others sharing stories of why they marched. Michael felt the pull of those conversations, the necessity of connection. He turned towards a small group of activists nearby, their signs raised high with slogans of hope and defiance. "Can I join you?" he asked, his voice a mix of nervousness and enthusiasm. They turned, eyes assessing, and for a moment, uncertainty clouded their expressions. But then one of them, a woman with a vibrant blue bandana and steady determination, stepped forward. "Yeah, we could use more voices." As he joined them, he found himself listening to their stories, real, raw, filled with pain and resilience. The woman spoke of her brother, unjustly jailed for protesting. A young man stood alongside her, recounting his battle against a system meant to stifle dreams like his. Their struggles echoed in his heart, igniting a fire of compassion within him. "Let us make sure we keep moving, keep the energy up," the woman directed. "We have to be heard." Michael nodded along, his heart racing with a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about them. He leaned in to share. I want to help. I have resources, connections I can bring to the cause. We can make a bigger impact together." Her eyebrows lifted, a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. "You really mean that? How do we know you're not just looking for redemption?" He hadn't expected that question, and for a moment, he grappled with his past. "I guess you don't. But I promise I want to be part of the change. For real this time. I'm ready to listen and learn. This is about all of us." The group exchanged glances, and he saw them start to soften, contemplating his sincerity. Warmth surged in his chest as a small smile cracked on the bandana woman's face. "All right, then. Welcome to the fight." The crowd surged again, moving towards the heart of the city, where their message awaited a platform. Michael's heart swelled as he saw signs waving above his head, each name and cause a testament to struggles he could no longer ignore. Then, a crash interrupted the rhythm of hope. A disruption broke out at the front, shouts rising as tension simmered. Michael felt fear grip his heart. "What's happening?" he asked, urgency cracking into his voice. An uneasy stillness settled among the group. They strained to see ahead, a swell of bodies reacting in alarm. "It looks like there's a counter-protest," the young man said, wide-eyed. Panic gripped the march. Michael could sense it, the raw fear of anger surfacing, and his courage would be tested anew. "Stay focused," the bandana woman shouted, rallying the group back. "We can't let them derail us." But Michael felt the heat of confusion rising, questions bubbling in him as the sound of chaos escalated. Was he truly ready to protect this movement, to stand firm against hostility? "Can we really steer this back?" he whispered to Emily, who stood at his side, a fierce look in her eyes. "Together," she said, her voice strong. "We can do this. But you need to trust yourself, and us." With every heartbeat, Michael weighed his decision. Could he confront the storm before them? As he stepped toward the front, a haunting thought ignited in his mind. Was this moment shaping him, or was it merely a reflection of the man he once was? The air thickened with tension and possibility. He had to make a choice, a leap into the unknown that could change everything. But what if he failed? What if the storm overtook them? Michael's feet moved forward before his mind could catch up. He stepped into the thrumming heart of the crowd, adrenaline rushing through him. The sight ahead was chaotic, signs waved like desperate prayers, and the voices of protest clashed sharply against the shouts of counter-protesters. The air felt electric, heavy with fear and courageous resolve. "Stay close," Emily called out, clutching his arm. Her grip provided a strange comfort amidst the chaos swirling around them. He glanced sideways at her determined face, her eyes sparkling with fierce intent. In that moment, he felt the weight of their shared purpose, a bond forged through the urgency of righting the wrongs they so passionately gathered to oppose. "We need to create a wall," the bandana woman shouted, her voice rising above the clamor. "Form a line around our signs. Show them we won't back down." The group rallied to her call, positioning themselves shoulder to shoulder, a vibrant tapestry of solidarity amidst the anger trying to engulf them. Michael found himself on the front line, alongside the bandana woman. He took a deep breath, the scent of sweat and fervor filling his lungs. "What now?" he asked, adrenaline thrumming in his veins. "Just stand strong. Let them see we're not afraid," she replied, her expression firm yet calm, an anchor amidst the storm. He nodded, feeling the tense energy pulse through the bodies of those around him. This was terrifying yet liberating, a choice to stand against something he'd once turned away from. As the voices from the counter-protest escalated, insults and hateful slogans pierced the air. Michael's heart raced, recalling memories of his past when he stood silently on the sidelines, refusing to engage. Now, it was different. The fear ignited his spirit, illuminating a new strength he hadn't known existed. "Look!" someone cried, pointing toward a flashpoint in the crowd. Tension clouded the air as the counter-protesters pushed forward. A few in the front had broken away, their faces twisted with anger, their energy razor-sharp, aiming to cut through the defense line. "Stay united," Emily shouted, her voice resolute as she locked eyes with Michael. He could see the fire in her gaze mirrored across the faces of those beside them. They were ready to fight, not with fists but with conviction, with belief. "Together," the bandana woman yelled, raising her sign high. "For justice. For peace." The group echoed her words, voices rising like a wave, overpowering the noise flooding towards them. Michael took a step closer to the bandana woman, the camaraderie swelling around him. "What if they attack?" he asked, a crack of doubt sneaking into his bravado. "They won't break us," she replied, her voice steadying, each syllable a proclamation of strength. "We are the voice they can't ignore." Michael felt the warmth of hope blossom in his chest, but with it came the weight of uncertainty. Could hope withstand the brutality of anger when it surged like a tide? His thoughts danced back to the stories he'd heard earlier, of real lives entangled in injustice, of raw suffering fueled by pain. His heart clenched as he thought of leaving things as they were, of walking away without doing something meaningful. Then a roar erupted from the crowd. The shrine of their shared values stood pounding against the rising tide of hostility. He turned to Emily. "We have to protect this." "Yes," she said, unyielding. "We can't let our voices be drowned out. We fight for every name, for every story, and for every dream that deserves to be heard." As the counter-protesters pushed harder, Michael raised his voice high, the sound emerging like a rallying cry. "We're not going anywhere." In that moment, he felt changed. The doubt receded, replaced with a fervent spark that ignited his spirit. The voices around him melded with his own, creating a chorus that soared into the chaos. But as the two sides closed in, he realized this was only the beginning. Would this unity withstand the storm? What would happen when push came to shove, when their resolve faced its real test? He braced himself, heart pounding like a war drum, waiting for the moment when courage would be the only way forward. The surge of bodies pressing in was palpable, hot breath mixing with the cool breeze that sliced through the heat of the clash. Michael felt the momentum shift as if they were all part of a grand kaleidoscope, spinning in dizzying patterns, a single, chaotic unit governed by shared purpose. Fight! 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 The counter-protesters screamed, their voices cutting through the air like jagged shards of glass. Each scream was a vote against what they stood for, but Michael's heart beat louder. The bandana woman stood firm, her face a picture of defiance. "Take a step back," she shouted, one arm extended in the air, like a lighthouse guiding them amidst the storm. Her leadership fired something deep within him. He needed to be the lighthouse too, to show others that it was okay to stand tall. "We're here for love and unity, not violence." The crowd around them pulsed, a living entity of hope, standing resolute in the face of hatred. Michael felt a newfound kinship, a tether that bound them all in this cause. He could see strangers exchanging nervous smiles, their fear mingling with determination. That connection, how it swelled among them, gave him strength. "Make room!" a nearby voice yelled, breaking the rhythm momentarily. Michael looked to the side as a woman, wild-eyed and frantic, elbowed through the thickening line. "They're coming! We need to hold the line." Holding the line. The words echoed in Michael's mind like a battle cry. He grabbed Emily's hand tighter, feeling the heat radiate from her palm. Together, they were an unyielding force. And then, chaos erupted. The counter-protesters surged forward, a wave of anger crashing against their fragile wall. Someone screamed. Michael's heart raced as people collided, bodies stumbling like dominoes. "Stay strong," he yelled, voice trembling. Panic prickled at his edges, and he instinctively took a step back. But Emily squeezed his hand. "Don't. Stand firm." Her eyes were fierce, igniting within him the very fire he thought he lacked. The bandana woman shouted again, her rallying cry breaking through the cacophony, "Together, we fight." With renewed vigor, the chants erupted from the core of the crowd, siphoning out the fear and ramping up the conviction. "Together! Together!" Momentarily, the ocean of voices drowned out the threats. But then came the riotous clash. A few individuals broke through the front line, pushing and shoving. A man tripped, falling to the ground. Michael instinctively turned to help, but a mass of bodies shifted, threatening to pull him down with them. "Help!" came a cry from somewhere off to the side. It was a high-pitched voice, frantic and full of desperation. Michael tore his gaze away from the melee, scanning the chaos for the source. A girl, maybe 12, stood alone, clutching a sign that read, "We deserve to be heard." Her wide eyes searched the crowd, pleading for someone to notice her. Michael felt a hollow ache in his chest. She was small, framed by a sea of towering bodies where anger raged like a wildfire. What about her dreams? What about the stories she wanted to share? Could this wreckage of hate stifle the voice of the innocent? With an instinct he couldn't ignore, he broke from the line, pushing against the tide. "I'm coming!" he shouted, heart racing as he maneuvered through. "Michael!" Emily's voice rang out, sharp and anxious. He glanced back, seeing her hand reach for him, but he kept moving toward the girl and all the voices that needed to be heard. The girl's face lit up when she spotted him, her little hand raised toward the sky, almost asking for rescue. But with each step the danger rose, and Michael could feel the weight of it like heavy chains. What would happen if he couldn't get to her? Would this fight truly be worth it? Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the crowd as a barricade toppled. The walls of their unity began to tremble, threatening to crumble. Time seemed to slow, everything hanging in the balance. Would he reach her in time? Would he discover the true meaning of this fight? With resolve hardening in his chest, he dashed forward, determined to bridge the distance. But when he would reach her, would there be more to find than just a frightened girl in need? Would he grasp the very essence of hope amidst the chaos? As he plunged forward, the answer hung just out of reach, waiting to unfold. Michael pushed his way through the throng, his heart racing faster than his feet could carry him. The chaos around him felt like a fraying thread, threatening to unravel at any moment. Every twist and turn brought him closer to the girl, but the weight of the crowd's emotions pressed down hard, heavy and oppressive. "Please. Don't go." The voices around him urged, but he was deaf to their fear. All that mattered now was the frightened girl, her sign waving like a flag of innocence amid the turmoil. He could almost grasp the look of relief in her wide eyes, the way she moved her lips as if she was whispering a silent prayer. Just a little closer, he thought, his breath catching as he sidestepped an angry counter-protester. The tension in the air crackled, palpable like the charge before a storm. Then, it happened. An explosion of shouts split the air, chaos erupting around him. Fists flew, and bodies jolted. He squeezed through, grit and determination fueling his every step. Just as he thought he had found a clear path, a surge hit him, knocking him sideways. He stumbled but kept his focus on the girl, who had now begun to back away, perhaps sensing the danger closing in. "Stay right there," he yelled over the noise, desperation pouring from every word. It was a mantra, a lifeline tethered to hope. Michael fought to steady himself, to push through the fear that threatened to paralyze him like the sudden wave just behind him. If he failed, what hope remained for those who needed them most? At last, he broke free from the crushing mass, and there she was, still holding her sign, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You came." Her voice was almost lost in the turmoil, yet it sparked something deep within him. "I'm here," he gasped, taking a moment to catch his breath. He took her small hand in his, her grip surprisingly strong. Around them, the battle raged on, shouts and screams creating a backdrop of harrowing urgency, but for just a moment, time stood still. "Please, don't let them get us," she cried, her voice trembling. "I just wanted to say I wanted to share my story. I wanted them to hear me." Michael knelt to her level. "You will be heard," he promised, feeling the tremors in his own heart as he took in her wide, searching eyes. "You deserve it more than anyone here." He had no idea how to protect her from what was happening, but he realized then that it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of them, coming together in a space where compassion could grow amidst the noise. "I don't want to be scared anymore," she pleaded, her voice rising above the din. There was a bravery in her eyes that pierced through him, awakening something he hadn't realized he needed to feel. Courage. Just then, a surge came from behind, an explosive wave of anger that crashed against them. "Hold on," Michael shouted, pulling the girl closer to him. The ground beneath them shook as they teetered back and forth. He needed to get her out, to protect her even if it meant risking his own safety. With determination, he began to backtrack, moving through the crowd with her still in tow. "Let us go," he urged, heart pounding, knowing the retreat was steeped in danger but also filled with purpose. As they made their way, he felt his own strength grow. They weren't just running, they were reclaiming their space, each step a declaration of existence in the face of hate. Seeing the girl beside him gave him purpose, but just when he thought they were almost safe, a loud sound burst forth, reverberating through the air like a war cry. The barricade fell completely, and the shock wave of its collapse rolled through the crowd, pushing them toward the ground in its wake. Would they remain standing, or would they lose everything they fought for? As panic threatened to consume them, Michael's grip tightened on the girl's hand. Could he carry her to safety, or would this be where hope faltered? The moment of truth loomed ahead, and with it, the echoes of their fight yet to be revealed. The dust settled like a thick fog, wrapping around Michael and the girl, blurring everything but the two of them. For just a heartbeat, the chaos felt distant, the noise dimmed to a haunting echo. He could see the fear in her eyes, and there was a hardened resolve forming within him. He couldn't let her down. This was bigger than them, bigger than the crowd they fought through. She needed someone, and he had stepped into that role without even thinking. Keep moving, he urged, scanning the shifting crowd like a hawk. It felt as if time had narrowed down to a singular focus, the chaos around them merely background noise. He turned to find a path through the throng, but the violent push of bodies made every stride feel like he was moving through molasses. The girl's hand squeezed his, a small flicker of assurance amidst the turmoil. There. She pointed to a narrow alleyway between a brick wall and a cluster of fallen signs. It seemed like a lifeline, and without hesitation, Michael pulled her toward it. They slipped through the gap, tumbling into the shadow of the alley. It was eerily quiet here, the cacophony of the protest fading into muffled shouts. Michael pressed his back against the cool brick, catching his breath while the girl leaned against the wall beside him, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Is it always like this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. That kind of noise? Sometimes. But it doesn't have to mean it's all bad, he replied, unsure if he even believed those words. She stared at him, confusion mingling with a spark of hope. I just wanted to be heard. I'm so tired of being afraid. Michael felt that weight of her words settle deep inside him. Here was a child longing for recognition, for validation. They were all just voices in a crowd, hoping to be seen. You will be heard, he repeated, this time with a firmness he wasn't sure he fully felt. He crouched beside her, taking a moment to look around the alley. They were safe for now. His heart swelled with an unexpected determination. What's your name? He asked gently. Emily, she said, glancing at him with those big, searchlight eyes. Emily, he echoed. That's beautiful. Do you want to tell me your story? She hesitated, emotions warring within her. What if no one listens? Then we'll make them listen, he said fiercely, his resolve solidifying. Every story matters, and yours is important. We'll find a way to get you a voice. You believe that with me, right? Her small nod sent a wave of warmth through him. Together, they could create something stronger than fear. Suddenly, there was a barroom. A clash of metal echoed from the street, jerking them back to reality. Michael's heart raced again as he imagined the scene outside, shifting seamlessly from fear to a protective fury. We need to get somewhere safe, he said, scanning the alley. But Emily's eyes were fixed ahead, filled with a mix of fear and determination. We can't just leave. What about them? Who? Michael asked, confused as he followed her gaze. The other people, the ones who need help. For the first time, he felt the weight of collective responsibility. It wasn't just about getting through for himself or her, it was about those still fighting out there, still trying to be heard. His heart pounded as he considered their next move. Would they run for safety? Or stay and show that courage could stand firm amid chaos? As he weighed the decision, Emily looked up at him, breathless anticipation filling the air. What do we do now? A choice awaited them, and it was clear this moment would shape their destinies. What path would Michael take, and would he find the courage to lead not just for himself, but for all those lost in the noise? Michael stood at the crossroads of courage and uncertainty, the raging storm outside swirling chaos into the very fabric of his heart. He felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, but in that very moment, gazing down into Emily's earnest eyes, the fear began to lift. They had fought through so much together. Nothing would bring more purpose than honoring the fight for those still standing in the fray, for those still yearning to be heard. You're right, he finally breathed, the words escaping with a newfound strength. We have to go back out there. They need us. Emily's face brightened, her spirit flickering with hope. "But how can we help if it's so dangerous?" she asked, her little brow furrowing as she peered up at him. Michael took a moment, weighing the dangers ahead. "We'll be a voice for them, Emily. We'll stand together. Show our community that we're not backing down. Voices matter, and together, we can amplify each one." It wasn't just about him or her, it was about everyone out there fighting for recognition, dignity, and respect. "Okay," she exclaimed, determination shining bright in her eyes. "Let us go." As they stepped back into the tumult, the scene exploded around them once more. Signs waved high, voices roared fierce and bold. But now, amidst the chaos, Michael felt invincible with Emily at his side. The swirling emotions alone might have churned him, but they gave him strength. So many hearts beat for the same cause, it was intoxicating. They weren't alone. "Here!" he shouted over the clamor. "We've got to form a circle, stand united." With that, he motioned for others nearby. As they joined hands in a human chain, the solidarity rippled through the crowd, creating a wall of protection, a woven tapestry of shared dreams. Together, standing shoulder to shoulder, they forged a barrier against the currents of violence that threatened to break them. Emily lifted her small sign high. "We deserve to be heard," she cried, her voice piercing through the veils of hostility. Everyone around them joined in, echoing her sentiment, each heart marching as one. Then, in that defining moment, something shifted. Their voices, previously chaotic, turned into a symphony of hope and defiance, a melody that spilled out into the open air, drowning out the shouts of hate. The crowd responded. The counter-protesters hesitated, their fury challenged by a wall of unity that pulsed with resilience. Michael witnessed the moment of transformation. Their energy morphed, a collective strength rising like the sun breaking over the horizon after a stormy night. He turned to Emily, who wore a radiant smile that lifted his heart. "See? We're doing it." But even in triumph, loaded with hope, the tension remained. A group of counter-protesters surged forward, their faces twisted with anger. Michael felt fear creep back, the street became a maelstrom. "Stand firm!" he yelled, the call ringing like an anthem through him. And as if in a meditation of unison, they held their ground, breathing through the tumult, each body connected with unwavering faith. With adrenaline pumping through him, Michael reached for Emily's hand again to remind her she wasn't alone. "We're strong together." In that instant, amidst the chaos, Michael felt released, freed from the shackles of privilege that once set him apart. He stepped into the light, drawing strength from the power of companionship. They weren't just two beings, it was a whole community just waiting for someone to show them they could rise above their hardships, their fears. In a surge of shared voices, they shouted, "No justice! No peace!" And a wave of strength rolled like thunder through the crowd, crashing into the hearts of all who stood there. Then, as if the universe had conspired for this very moment, the counter-protesters began to retreat, confusion and doubt shadowing their path. Those who once spread dissent now stepped back, retreating before the overwhelming tide of camaraderie and love pouring forth from the hearts worthy of being heard. In that heartbeat, victory tasted sweeter than any meal Michael had ever had. Peering at the expressions around him, relief, pride, and unity, he knew they had begun to dismantle the barriers that separated them. Slowly, the whispers transformed into chatter, emboldened conversations blooming as people shared stories. The very thing he had feared, floodgates of emotion and connection, became the tapestry binding them all together. And there, amidst the solace of personal connections, Emily beamed brightly, each smile radiating from her heart, reaching others. "We did it!" she cheered, wrapping her tiny arms around his waist, and Michael felt her joy seep into him, igniting his spirit. As they began to disperse, their hearts intertwined, he understood this was only the beginning. The fight wasn't over, but the landscape had shifted. Their fight had meaning, and together, they carried forth that spark. Taking a deep breath of exhilaration and hope, he saw people organizing future meetings, discussing plans to continue their efforts of change. While the undercurrent of fear would always exist, Michael now knew that within that fear was a light capable of transforming the shadows. He smiled, realizing he had finally found his place among the very community he once felt isolated from, eager to keep building bridges. This was no longer just about surviving. It was about thriving. Will you join them in this journey of hope? Support the fight for voices yet to be heard. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you do not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and amplify these messages of true change. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. You need to be part of this community. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because true fans understand the importance of courage and community. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your voice can create ripples of change.